Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, you know how you go into an event and you're like, I don't know. I don't think you're one of those people that likes uncomfortable situations. Like,
Right.
You're not a fan of, like, the Larry David,
I'm okay with Larry David. I did have to stop watching The Office.
Okay, The Office. Yeah, so this was kind of one of those, like, you walk in and you're just like, ooh, like, is this Luke Fickle's Scott's Tots? Because it felt a little like Luke Fickle's Scott's Tots. And it was like, there was no point in this game where you thought Wisconsin had even a 2% chance of winning. It was just, as soon as Ohio State was up 7-0 and then kicked the field goal later, it was like, well, that's the game. 10 points. I mean, yes, Ohio State could do something incredibly stupid, throw a pick six or something, but 2, they're probably not going to do 2.
And they punted one where they probably could have gone for it, and it was well, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to win, so what's the point? It was 17-0, I think, at the time.
Yeah, we have in Super Chat from Mike Ferguson, to quote the late, great Abraham Lincoln, always bet on the shutout when making bold predictions. Cough, cough, Tony. Which, getting called out by Abraham Lincoln, that's a tough day for you.
A shocking setup where we, again, said during bold predictions that Ohio State has done this once in the last 7 games. Wisconsin has done it once in the last 1 game. So 25% of the last 8 games, this has been a shutout for Wisconsin. So I guess that's the framework that we're working at, the baseline, 25% boldness. Congratulations to Tom. I don't know that I got any. It's not really important right now. I have not looked. I probably did. Let's be honest. Probably did. But, kudos to the shutout for the Buckeyes. Ryan Day spent like the first 10 minutes of the press conference talking about the offense. I know you can all hear it very, very well.
We have some clips from the Ryan Day press conference, so we will get to those. And all the stuff that I pulled was, in fact, Ryan Day talking about the offense.
And then at the end, he's like, hey, guys, we shut out the defense. I can talk about the defense. Because Mike Bassford, SID, is like, all right, two more questions. And then there's like 2 offensive questions. And Dave's like, hey, whoa, let's talk about the defense. Shutouts can't just be ignored.
Did he talk about the special teams at all?
He did, so they have to get better at that.
Really?
Yes, that was the fake punt. That was
not a fake punt. Luke Fickle clarified that in his press conference. That was not a called thing. That was it's 4th and 15. It was a high snap, and like the Ohio State coverage team just turned their backs and started going to cover the punt because it's 4th and 15. So the punter kind of went, all right,
YOLO,
took off running and he broke a tackle from Leroy Roker, I know, and there might have been one other guy who kind of maybe came
right
up at the sticks, didn't get it. That's one of those. It's not going to be a fun Sunday and Monday in the film room for the special teams guys, but you kind of have to tip your hat, that's one where you get to the sideline and the coach goes, I'm glad you made it, because otherwise I would have had to have you killed. That's one where you better, if you're going to run from deep in your own territory on 4th and 15 without the go ahead from the coaches, you better make it.
Yeah.
Super chat from Jordan Kapler. What is it about Wisconsin that makes Ohio State players absolutely destroy someone on the sidelines to close the 4th quarter? I didn't see whatever that was.
I did not see that one either. So go ahead and throw another super chat in with that explanation. And we'll talk about, that's the only way we will talk about it. No, I don't know that I saw that one. Real quick back on the special teams. They missed another field goal. Brandon Innes, 3 punt returns for 38 yards with a long of 18. I think that's fine. You'll take that. So overall, not great, but Jaden Fielding did hit 2 field goals. So I guess, that's something. Good from 38, good from 37, bad from 38. Long of 38, just very, very average all around, and partly below average as well.
Well, and I didn't get to see the mechanics of that. Was the snap okay on that? Was the hold okay on that? I couldn't see. I just saw that he pushed it, I think, right.
Yeah, it's like, a little bit wide right. That's all. But also, when Jane Fielding misses this year, I don't know that, or whenever, I don't know that people are looking for. I wasn't looking for the mechanics of it. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not shocked.
Well, and when you see another missed field goal, they have another kicker on the roster, and I know they're trying to keep Jackson Corville's red shirt. if he's, we're not in practice, so I don't know what he's looking like in practice. And maybe, fielding has supposedly been great in practice, and it's just not always carrying over to games. Aaron Scott.
I did see that one. Yes, okay. Yes, that was a good one.
So, with Fielding missing again, you wonder, they've only got 5 regular season games left. Corville has kicked in 1. You wonder if in Penn State, I don't know if Penn State's where you want to break him out, but to me at this point, you're more likely, if Corville is the better option, you're more likely to have a game that comes down to a field goal this year than you are to have no other options for 2027. Like, if you feel like Corville is your better options kicking, you just put him in and you move on with life, and you figure out 2027 when you figure out 2027, because he's got 2 years of eligibility. I do wonder if at some point you just throw him in, and maybe they're going to wait 2 more weeks so that they can maintain the redshirt year. But it's what, Penn State, and then
at Purdue,
and then UCLA, Rutgers, at Michigan.
So
you can still, he can still miss. He can sit out 2 more games and then play in 3, whatever of those 3 you need. But you can't have. College kickers 10 years ago were #college kickers, and everyone kind of went, well, what are you going to do? College kickers, no one can make a kick. Now you got a bunch of people hitting 50-yarders.
Yeah.
Ohio State should have a guy who can hit 50-yarders and can certainly get hit 38-yarders.
Well, and I don't think you have to wait. I think you can play him when you need him now.
Yeah.
And then you won't need him against Purdue. You probably won't need him against UCLA or Rutgers. So you can get through this, and then he needs time. He needs to be able to kick some before you're like, okay, you're our playoff kicker. Because that's not fair to him either.
Well, you're not going to throw him out there to go kick a 56-yarder at halftime against Michigan if he hasn't kicked before. So, but if you're going to do that, if that's even a possibility, I think you got to put him out there, and you got to, if figuring out 2027 is the biggest problem that creates, there will be other kickers between now and 2027.
I do like we're spending the first 10 minutes on kicking.
Well,
when Ohio State did shut out an opponent. Julian Sayin threw the ball very well, 36 of 42, 393 yards, 4 touchdowns, 86% completion percentage. The first Buckeye quarterback to complete 30 passes and complete 80% of his passes since Tom
Brady.
Well,
Tom
Brady.
I don't remember. Tom Hoying. You said Tom.
No. Sorry.
Misleading me?
The Rose Bowl.
CJ Stroud. Yeah, I would have guessed probably a CJ Stroud. But 36 of 42, it didn't feel like he threw that much, and 393 yards. That's
and I think a lot of that, or at least some of that, much of it was RPO. So again, yeah. So again, when we talk about the running game, it's like, well, count in 150 RPO yards as well.
Yeah, there was a drive where it was like pull 8 yards to Jeremiah Smith, pull 9 yards to Jeremiah Smith, pull 11 yards to Jeremiah Smith, pull 8 yards to, and I said to the guy next to me, like, this is, you know how we talked about how the pass option on the RPOs were not live the last couple of weeks. I think they're live today.
Yeah, very much so, and just easy, just picking up, like you said, to the sticks almost every time, first down, easy, and that's one reason why, like, last few games, Jeremiah Smith, like this one averaged 9-10 yards a catch. I'm 9 for 97, so like 11 yards a catch, because it's just easy. It's easy pickings, and then the defense is so focused on him. You've got Carnell Tate going deep, and Carnell Tate, another really good game, 6 for 111, 2 touchdowns. Ryan Day explained the deep touchdown to Carnell Tate, saying that was supposed to be to Brandon Inniss, but Inniss was out of the game. Carnell Tate was in there, hadn't run that route since his freshman year, and hasn't, certainly didn't run it at all this year. But that's the competitive excellence that Ryan Day is always talking about, being prepared for all of these different possibilities. And so he stepped in for Brandon Inniss and was able to run that. And Tom, one other point I want to make about the slot receiver situation. We saw Brandon Inniss playing outside, and we also saw Mylan Graham in the slot quite a bit, and also saw Quincy Porter outside looking pretty physical and pretty darn good.
Yeah, Quincy Porter looks physically ready. Like he's a bigger receiver than Mylan Graham is, and so he looks more ready to block on the edge and do some of the other stuff that they're looking for out of a receiver. It definitely, there was no Bryson Rodgers again today, but it does feel like they're starting to feel more comfortable with some of the depth at wide receiver, where it was really at the start of the year, it was kind of the three guys, and then you'd see a little bit of Bryson Rodgers. You're now seeing Quincy Porter, you're seeing Mylan Graham very early in the game. You're seeing them in the first quarter. And there was a drive where it was kind of like, and here's the, they had the RPO drive to Jeremiah Smith where he had like 4 catches. There was also and now we're going to make sure everybody who made the trip gets to get a catch. Yeah. And Quincy Porter had a catch, and Mylan Graham had a catch, and James Peoples, I think, had a catch on that drive.
Mylan Graham had a Carnell Tate first down catch, toes on the sideline, dragged his feet, really nice. Just good execution on that one.
Yeah. And, I look at the passing game, and this felt a little bit, I'm sure Ryan Day is not doing this because of the comments on YouTube, but it also kind of felt like this was a little bit of a, don't worry, guys, we haven't forgotten how to pass the ball kind of game. I do think there are, you're coming out of this game with all of the same questions about the running game that you entered it with, other than the fact that Isaiah West had a really solid game, to the point that my question for you is, are Ohio State's top 2 running backs both true freshmen right now?
Well, I mean, no, because Bo Jackson has slid back down. Like, he's averaging 1 or 2 yards a carry. So I can't even put him up there right now because his production, since he's been getting the ball, has gone way down. And the only person right now that carried the ball tonight that showed any wiggle, any vision was Isaiah West. And James Peoples didn't carry the ball, had a catch, but Isaiah West was able to keep his head up and then make a guy miss, pick up some yards. But can you do it over and over again? Because when Bo Jackson was given that opportunity, boom, what was 9 yards of carry went immediately down to 4.5 to 3 to 2. And that's not a good trend, Tom. That's a bad trend. And so now you've got this week off where you're like, what do we know? And the thing they know is like, well, we need to get Isaiah West the ball more. Do you need to know anything else? Certainly, because things aren't great. 28 for 98 and no rushing touchdowns. Long carry of 15 from Isaiah West. C.J. Donaldson had 13, where just wide open, and he gets as much as he can, and then that's it. So still no home runs. And I'm not talking about, you don't need to pretty it up, lipstick on a pig with a long run, because we'll call that out. Right. We need to see, we demand. It's like, where's the consistency? And so far, they had one guy who was consistent tonight, and that was Isaiah West, and a smallish sample size of 9 carries.
And you have a far better view of this from where you're watching than I do. What was your impression of the offensive line? Because I look at the offensive line, and it feels like you're kind of having some consistent issues and some consistent spots, and you wonder how long they're going to go. It feels like they're kind of dipping their toe in, like, well, do we need to make a change? And they keep kind of going like, maybe a little bit, and then not quite doing it. And it's like, if you're going to make a change, you should just make a change, because it feels like they very clearly are at least thinking about it. So if you're thinking about it, you've been thinking about it for weeks, and you're still seeing some of the same issues, maybe just make the change.
Yeah, Tager Shabola did not have a very good game today. Phillip Daniels didn't have a great game. The entire right side kind of struggled. But with Shabola, you're putting Joshua Padilla in there at times. So now you've got a sample size of 2 or 3 games that you can look at and see how do you see things. Because I certainly doubt Shabola is grading out a champion. And so if you're not getting there consistently and somebody else is doing better, then now maybe Padilla has become that 6th man. Is it time for him to become that 5th man? And then you figure out who the next 6th man is between Ethan Onianwa and Integra, or where's Ian Moore in all of this? So there's still some things to work out, and that's not unusual. Just think of where the offensive line was this time a year ago, where Zen Michalski may have just started his first game and then was injured, and then maybe this is Donovan Jackson heading to Penn State, kicking out to left tackle. So things change, and then even the rotation in the playoffs. Like Luke Montgomery wasn't playing at this point. It was Austin Searveld as that third guard, and then Luke Montgomery closed the season out as the left guard. Austin Searveld closed the season out as the right guard last year. Integra
was also one of the guards. And this was the 7th game this season. The 7th game last season was the Nebraska game, 21-17, and Zen Michalski's the left tackle, and it is just the tire, she is a flame. That was a mess, that game. So I do think it's worth having a little bit of perspective. We're talking right now about the stuff that was notable, and all the stuff that was notable in this game, other than, hey, they got a shutout, was bad because it's a bad team. So the only thing that really, the good stuff you do against a bad team is kind of like, yeah, of course, that's what that doesn't really stand out. And I really don't want this to be a negative show because they're 7-0. They once again covered against an opponent. I said on the pregame show that they have covered every game, and then someone said they didn't cover at least on one of the lines against Ohio. So, okay, they've covered most of the games. They're at worst 6-1 against the spread this year. They're the defending national champion. I mean, there's all this stuff that we say, and it's worth kind of keeping in mind that, yes, this is still, and we just saw last night, the team that everyone was saying, well, maybe this team's better than Ohio State. They made stool, as one of our coworkers will occasionally say, against Louisville, and now they're not going to be number 2 anymore. So it is worth kind of having that perspective that this is a 7-0 team, and they are still, and right now they're in very good shape they're going into week off. This is the time when you can sit down and go, okay, what changes need to be made? What tweaks can be made? And when you're looking at young freshman running backs, I think you may be talking about guys perhaps hitting the freshman wall. That's something that happens with freshmen all the time. Right about this time of year, this, late October, early November is when you see guys sort of hit that freshman wall, because this is a longer, much more physical and involved season than they've ever had to do before. And
I also wonder how good Bo Jackson is feeling. Like, is this foot injury, ankle, is that bothering him at all, limiting him? But clearly, they're trying to figure this out, and they're giving players the opportunity for the most part. Again, James Peoples didn't carry the ball. He was in there a few times, and it's almost now when he's in there, it's like, well, here comes a pass. Just like when Mylan Graham is in there, oh, here comes a run. And they don't want to get predictable. There's some predictability there. I know there's a thought that they run all the time out of the pistol. It's not true. They didn't do that last week. They didn't do that tonight. If they run out of something more often than not, there's always going to be tendencies. Right, as Ryan Day says, tendencies are what good teams have because it works, so you do it. Now, I'm not saying the running game is working, so not all of these tendencies are good. But could be better, and that's why you've got to work on them to get them better.
Someone just said that 3 undefeateds lost today. I know, or lost this weekend at least. Miami, I know, lost. Ole Miss lost to Georgia.
Texas Tech.
Oh, Texas. Who did Texas Tech?
Arizona State.
Arizona State. Well, forks up, everyone. How about that? Interesting.
It was much not that close late, so I didn't realize it got that close. But
okay, all right. Well, how about that? And again, everyone, as you are free to be annoyed at the lack of a run game. Yeah. You're free to look at that and go, yeah, this might cost them a game at some point. But you kind of have to take a deep breath and say, this is, we've had a fascinating conversation on our message board, the Huddle board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus at BuckeyeHuddle.com, about some of the systemic changes in the sport and how they're manifesting on the field right now. Because, man, oh, man, it is a different kind of season, and you're not seeing that dominant team, and you're not seeing these teams be able to just sort of, the 3 to 5 teams just be able to stockpile all the talent. It's spread out. That is a phenomenal thing for the sport of college football, because every weekend when you're sitting at home and you're going, what an insane weekend. There were so many great upsets. This is awesome. And then, at some point it's going to be your team, and then it's going to be, no, not like that. But you have to kind of understand that Ohio State is not exempt from that. Ohio State may be more exempt from that than almost anyone because of some of the built-in advantages that they have, which have shown themselves over the decades. But you have to sort of understand, this is not a year where anyone is going to be perfect. Ohio State is probably, I don't think Ohio State would trade places with anyone, but they're still not perfect.
No, and during this game, we're watching Ole Miss and Georgia just go up and down the field, scoring on each other. Ole Miss scored touchdowns on their first 5 drives against Georgia, and didn't stop until the fourth quarter. They were finally forced to punt. So, would you prefer? And I'm not like, would you prefer that? Like,
yeah,
there are alternatives to being undefeated, just smothering people, and they're not always better. But also, we told you this was kind of going to be this game where it's like, it's not going to be close. It's not going to be pretty. At least Ohio State threw the ball around. That's something that people were clamoring for. Like, hey, you can do it.
Yeah,
just go do it. And one of the issues I did have is that they were throwing it all over the place in the first half, but only scored 17 points, and then only scored 17 points in the second half. So they could be more effective. But of course, we know the red zone issues. No. But when you're throwing the ball around like that, you'd like to maybe score more points, but also that's where the running game gets involved. And you need a complete offense to be a high-scoring offense for the most part.
Well, yeah, I'm going to read you their drive chart. 9 plays, 89 yards, touchdown. 6 plays, 23 yards, field goal. 6 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. 5 plays, 19 yards, punt. That was the only drive where they didn't have a chance to score all game. 10 plays, 60 yards, field goal attempt that missed. Then a kneel down right before halftime. 11 plays, 57 yards, field goal. 13 plays, 83 yards, touchdown. 11 plays, 77 yards, touchdown. And then a kneel down at the end of the game as well. That's a pretty darn good day altogether, because this is a terrible Wisconsin offense. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It is a steaming pile of garbage on a hot day. The defense is fine. The defense is not bad. They're not great, but they're fine. Like, this is a perfectly average Big Ten defense, and Ohio State just went boom, 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 up down the field. No problem at all. So, it's an offense that's going to be fine. And the defense did exactly what you would think that they would do against a terrible, terrible defense. 3 plays punt, 3 plays interception, 3 plays punt, 9 plays, 29 yards punt, 3 plays 2 yards punt, 3 plays 9 yards punt, 3 plays 5 yards punt, 10 plays 15 yards punt, 9 plays 50 yards.
How do you have the 10-play, 15-yard drive, Tom? Explain that to me.
Was that didn't they have a big sack or a bunch of penalties or something on that drive, something like that? If you're looking for stuff to complain about, and Lord knows that everyone always is, there were a couple times that I thought, it's 4th and 2. You could go for it here. Not for the reasons that I would normally say you should go for it here, where it's like you've got a makeable play and you need the points. This is a game where you didn't need the points. As soon as they were up 7-0, it was like, well, unless something crazy goes wrong, they've won this game already. But this was an opportunity to put Julian Sayin in a spot where it's a high-pressure play with not a lot of downside. If you don't pick up the 4th and 2 and Wisconsin gets the ball at your 40 or your 30 or what, at their 30, who cares? What are they going to do with it? They're going to go 3 plays and they're going to punt it back to you. So who cares? So
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So there were a couple times that they kicked on 4th and 2. Luke Fickell punted on 4th and 1 on the first drive, and it was like, oh,
here come the boos.
Are you trying to lose the crowd? Like, you're very obviously just trying to play to keep this close because you're going to kick it to them, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to go right down the field because it's Ohio State. Of course they're going to go right down the field because it's Ohio State. Why not give yourself pretend to try?
Right. Like, when he did that, I'm like, what other coaches, like Dan Lanning's not doing that, Kenny Dillingham's probably not doing that. These energetic coaches that are trying to create something. Curt Cignetti, I doubt he's the energetic 64-year-old that he is looking to punt on the first drive when you're trying to get something going in a big game, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm already waving the white flag. Please don't hurt me so much.
We do have a couple clips from the Ryan Day press conference if we want to go to those now. Yep. The first one, these are both on the offense. The first one is just kind of more broadly on offense. We'll do the Cardinal tape one second, but the first one is just kind of Ryan Day sort of starting his press conference and just his overall thoughts on the offense, and then there's sort of a couple follow-up questions about Julian Sayin and some other stuff.
I have to go back and watch the film and figure out what was good and what broke down. But as you guys could tell, we wanted to come out and throw the ball more in this game and kind of try to get a feel for where we really are in the passing game, because we know we're going to need both here down the stretch. And that's a defense that I think is a very good defense. And they don't always get put in the best situations throughout the season, but like I said to our offense, I said, this is a defense that tackles well. They're well coached. Luke does a good job. And I think when we broke down, it was because we either lost focus or didn't execute all the way down the field. And a good defense is going to force you to work the ball down the field like that. They're not just going to let you take long shots. Even when we tried to shoot the ball down the field, you could tell that they're just backing up. And but it's good for them to feel that as well. But now that as we throw and catch, we have to be efficiently working the ball down the field, and all it takes is one play to be off, and you find yourself off schedule. And it was good in the first drive. We came out and found ourselves in a 3rd and long and made a great throw and catch to score. And then it's good to get a turnover early to get the rhythm going. But we'll look and see how the run game. To me, looking at it, we left some meat on the bone in the run game for sure. But to see us throw the ball, we did was a big step in the right direction. And I thought Julian made some really good decisions in the RPO game. I thought he checked the ball down for the most part when he needed to. And then his off-schedule plays were excellent to me. I found his check downs at times, but the scramble plays, like the one to Brandon, was really well done, and found a few other ones as well.
Here, Stefan. Coach, follow up a bit on the run game there. We saw Isaiah West get some opportunities later at Illinois, get some opportunities again today. What have you liked from him and kind of the way he's grown on the depth chart?
Yeah, I got to watch the runs on the coach's copy, but on the iPad on the sideline, 2 runs I thought were good. One for 7, and I forget what the other one was for, but hit him good. I just kind of like the way, and then there was 2 guys in the hole that he made miss. So good sign for a young back. So we'll kind of see what it looks like and see where we're going from here.
I think it was 14.
Yeah, I mean, those are good runs, and so we're going to look at everything and do everything we can to make sure that we're efficient and we're balanced. So.
Left, Rob Ollie.
Yeah, Ryan, the goal's to win the game, but is there any thought given to getting stats for guys ever in games like this, in terms of maybe whether it's for awards or Heisman? I mean, Julian Sayin was in there kind of late and had really good stats.
Well, I think we're still growing, so we're still trying to build on all of this. But what we can do is what you just said, and that's hard to do sometimes because these guys work hard, and we try to do what we can to make sure that guys get touches. But when you start to focus on those things, you can find yourself way out of whack. I'm not sitting here and saying that sometimes we don't do that. We're guilty of that sometimes because we love our guys and we want to do that, but we have to stay disciplined, and that's what goes back to being unselfish, and that's it. Guys have to understand, and the number one goal is to win the game, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure guys get touches the best we possibly can, staying within the system and not putting our offense at risk of sputtering on a drive and not scoring a touchdown.
I do think it's interesting that how often Ryan Day this season has said the number one goal is to win the game. And then all the other stuff comes after that. But every game he said that after the game, and then he said that at the midweek press conference almost every week. It feels like I don't know what's the message behind that message.
Well, I think you're trying to reiterate that and again, Ohio State had over nearly 500 yards of total offense and shut out the opponent. There's nothing to be upset about.
We got to get back to special teams.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but you're reiterating to the media, because then they're going to put out the message that this was good, this was good, this was good. But when things are always good, all we do is not all we do. A lot of what we do is talk about, well, what's bad, the bad things, because the good things, you want a cookie? Like you're supposed to be good at these things. So we want to figure out why the bad, like these things are good. Why is this not good? What aren't you doing to get this to be good? And we saw Brian Kelly get upset about that a few weeks ago, where just the expectations become a little out of whack because of the what you're used to versus what you're getting now. And what you're getting now is a different kind of game than what you got used to over the years.
Yeah, it's a different kind of year in a lot of ways. And it's a different year in the sport on the whole. But this is worth remembering. This is an Ohio State defense that lost 8 starters off of last year's team. And they lost their starting quarterback, and they lost both their starting running backs, and they lost a couple starters on the offensive line, and they lost guys all over the field. And this is a year that I came into this year saying as often as I could say, look, do not expect a national championship this year. This is not
These guys possible. Are terrible.
But it's possible. But just because you won the national championship last year doesn't mean you're going to win the national championship this year. This is a different team. This is a very different team, and you don't have the 5th-year veteran starting quarterback, and you don't have the 2 proven running backs, and you don't have the 4 defensive linemen who really were a huge part of the team. And yet here we are, they're 7 games in, and they're undefeated and the number 1 team in the country, and they have been since basically the first week of the season.
And I said this about Penn State as well. It's silly to think that you are up next, or it is your turn, or that there are turns, or that you are owed this, or that this is your birthright. Penn State, people thought it was their turn and talked about it, and perhaps convinced Penn State that it was their turn. And a funny thing happened on the way to the slaughter. Here, it's like you just won one, so you know what it takes. Mm-hmm. And what you also know is the Ohio State that you saw in October frustrated you at times. The Ohio State that you saw in January didn't. Although, no. It still frustrated you at times. But you kept winning and you kept going on. How long has it been since a team went through everybody, made everybody happy, made the fans happy? Like right now, Ohio State's on pace to do something that has not been done since, 95 with double. Well, they don't even have double-digit wins,
right? Because
of the Texas game. So, they're winning. They're winning comfortably. Even that Texas win was comfortable until they scored. It wasn't. Yeah, but they scored late, and it's like you felt like there's insurance scores all around. So you're looking for things that are eventually going to bite Ohio State, and I assure you that the coaches are as well. But that doesn't mean it's not going to get them, because especially teams, I don't know how you make it better.
Right. There's stuff that they recognize. Yeah, they're not where they need to be with certain stuff. Some problems are fixable. Some problems there may be workarounds for, and some problems may be, well, nobody's perfect, and so this is an area where you're not going to be perfect. The talented running back this year, some of it's young, but overall, you don't have the proven veteran, outstanding, future second-round NFL draft pick running back duo that you had last year. Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, these guys may end up at that spot at some point, but they're not there yet because they're true freshmen. So at this point, that's not a problem where you can just, go on the waiver wire and pick up or make a trade before the trade deadline. Like, the roster is what the roster is. Isaiah West feels like they think maybe they've got something there, and maybe that's going to change what this looks like in the back half of the regular season and beyond. But there's certainly no guarantees there.
Yeah, no. Do we want to get to Ryan Day with Carnell Tate? Who
let's
had a fantastic day.
Yeah. So this is Tony talked about this a little bit earlier. This specifically Ryan Day starts talking about that play where Carnell Tate's in the slot and he goes down the field and catches the touchdown, and his helmet comes off his head. You remember the play. So here's Ryan Day talking about that, and then he kind of goes on for a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll let you know how that one happened. Brandon was out, so that was actually going to be Brandon in the slot. but because Brandon was out, we moved Quincy over into the boundary. We moved Carnell to the slot, which he had not run that play in practice one time. He actually ran that play against Purdue as a freshman and got a big play down the middle. And what it was we were running down the field against a coverage where what we call two Tampa or tricky, and he stuttered on the tricky player. So it was a stutter on him, and then went by him, and then Julian got pushed off his mark and had to slide, so he was a little late getting it to him. And so he threw a good ball, but it was a little bit late, and so Carnell had to come back and make a contested catch over the defender's head, and I just thought that was a really great catch. Just that's an All-American catch. And so for him to make a play like that early in the game set the tone. But yeah, I mean, those are the things, when you're trying to get it down the field, you got to find double moves. You got to try in as many ways as you can to push it down the field. But yeah, big time throw and catch.
Yeah. Just to follow up on Julian, for him to be, redshirt freshman, 7 games into his Ohio State career and playing the way he's playing, just how impressed are you with the way that he's developed?
I'm impressed with his preparation. I sit in those meetings with Billy and he and Lincoln, and I just the amount of information that he's processing and those guys go through in those meetings is well done. And when you see it translate to on the field, that's winning football. And so when you just can take a meeting to the field as quickly as he can and then see it and then process it, is he perfect? No, there's things he's going to work to get better at, but man, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, no question Julian Sayin has a bright future ahead of him. Julian Sayin has a pretty good present, too. I mean, you look at his numbers from today, and it was, hang on, lost it. 36 of 42, 86% completion for 393 yards and 4 touchdowns. No picks.
Yeah.
86% completions for 393 yards and 4 touchdowns. And again, this is not a good Wisconsin team. The defense is absolutely fine. The defense, they were banged up a little bit in the secondary, and Luke Fickell talked about that a good bit, where they had some freshman corners in at one point, and those guys actually did a decent job. But Julian Sayin, you can look at quarterbacks all over the country. I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks who people are talking about as, Bryce Underwood, who's a true freshman, not a redshirt freshman, and you got to watch a lot more of that game today than I did, but, he on the road does not look like Julian Sayin looked today. 2 years in a row, Carson Beck has been getting like, oh man, this guy's going to New York. Only if he pays his own way, maybe he'll get to see the Rockettes. I don't know.
4th round to the Giants.
He's not. Don't you put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby. He is, these are guys who everyone's going, oh man, wait till you, and Julian Sayin, redshirt freshman, again, long way to go, not there yet, but you got to like where he is right now.
Now through 4 Big Ten games, 11 touchdown passes, no interceptions, completing well over 70%. I came into this game completing over 80% and raised it today a little bit. And has not, his low water mark was 65% in the season opener, has been above 70% every other game, and was just lights out in this one. And that does a good job of taking what's there, but also seeing what's there. And the whole, he's reading the RPOs very well. Ryan Day said, I'll be shocked if he doesn't grade out a champion. I would agree. And maybe the most surprising or amazing thing, we saw him pull the ball on a read option.
Yeah, there were a couple times that I'm following the ball through a camera viewfinder, so I'm going, I know where this is going, and sometimes I'm right. Like that Cardinal Tate touchdown, I'm looking and I'm like, I know where this ball is going, and I was right. There were several times that I thought, oh, well, this is going to be a give, and I'm following Bo Jackson or Isaiah West, and they're running without the football, and I'm like, that's inconsiderate. Why didn't you tell me that you weren't going to have it? But he is not Bryce Underwood in terms of being able to make incredible plays with his legs. But he can pick up some yards. He can also buy some time and let those receivers run around and get open. That might be the single biggest thing he does with his legs.
Yeah, and it's impressive. And he did a good job of that and then completing those passes. I'm sure there were a couple he'd like to have back. There was one scramble where Jeremiah went and scramble drill and then went deep, and they didn't quite connect. But that would have been another big play. But, I mean, this dude looks like he is so comfortable, and the accuracy with which he throws, it's when you start saying C.J. Stroud in terms of accuracy, like, you don't say that lightly, but that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. And I have seen a conversation in the comments about Jeremiah Smith and is Jeremiah Smith frustrated? And, his stat, he was like 9 for 97. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a touchdown. I think there were a couple that he thought I should have had that one, or, a better throw maybe gets it there. Jeremiah Smith's expectations for Jeremiah Smith are higher than his expectations for anyone else. So Jeremiah Smith, if he looks frustrated, Jeremiah Smith is probably frustrated with Jeremiah Smith. I can almost guarantee you he was real frustrated with himself after last weekend, that one catch down the sideline where he had it and then it kind of came loose. I don't think he was mad at anyone else on that one. And there were a couple where he went up and there was one in the end zone that looked like he was a little behind, a little like it was back shoulder on the defender. Not that one was probably like, okay, that was probably not exactly where it should have been. But there was another ball down the sideline here near the goal line, kind of inside the 5 probably. And he's up there. He has a chance to make a play on the ball. And the defender made a nice play, but I'm sure he still is thinking, I should have had that one.
Yeah, and he wants some big plays, certainly. And I'm sure that gets frustrating being, kept. So players are kept over the top of him. The one time that they did have an opportunity to go deep, they did. So the opportunities, when they're there, at least you're taking them, so he can't feel too upset about that. But yeah, he wants to catch everything, and this is not a situation where he's mad at Ohio State or he's mad at Julian Sayin or he's mad at Carnell Tate or jealous of anything. So I don't know that that's where people are going, but I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we sort of spelled that out. I don't know why you took the greatest comment of the day down just a moment ago, but it was. You're going to have to pull
I'm sure it wasn't important.
It was extremely important. Geiger Lee says Tony's expectations for Tony are lower than anyone else's. That's not true. I'm also on that show. All right. So anyway, we can move on to whatever other comments you want to put up there now. Billy Tuesday says, I think Day, Brian Hartline, Bowen, and Locke are going to have long discussions about the run game. There were a couple times where there was a 3rd and 2 where it was like history's most telegraphed run play, and unsurprisingly, Wisconsin got the message. Run play, stop, and they did stop it.
We were also joking in the press box, me and Pat Murphy. They're opening up, throwing the ball like 8 times in a row, and it's like the first time they run it, they're going to lose. They're going to lose a yard. It's going to be stuffed, and Bo Jackson, I think, got that first carry, and it was a loss of 1. And it's like, yeah, it's it's a little predictable at times. Not predictable,
yeah,
but that's kind of what we've been expecting with the run game. So to see it happen when everything else is going perfectly in terms of the passing game, it's like, well, yeah, that's why you don't run it, I guess.
Yeah. And I was over in the Luke Fickell press conference, and he really didn't have anything super interesting to say from an Ohio State perspective. So I didn't pull any sound bites from that like we normally do. I did, however, want to mention one thing. The linebacker, Christian Allegro, number 0, he is someone who jumps out when you watch Wisconsin. That he's the kind of guy that I don't know if he has any eligibility left, and I don't think he'd start for Ohio State. He just is the kind of guy you'd love to have on your team, I think. And he broke a bone in his arm in the first half in this lost season, in this hopeless game. He goes back to the locker room. I guess they x-rayed it. And he goes, okay, well, wrap it up and I'll go back out there. And then he played, and then they wrapped it up more at halftime. And he played like the whole second half of the game. I'm sorry. That's awesome. Like that is incredibly impressive. And Luke Fickell was kind of asked several different times, like, what gives you hope about this team?
Yeah.
What are you feeling optimistic about? And he said, you look at that and it's like, does that sound like a team that has given up?
Well, and they were losing guys by the boatloads at times. Up in the press box, they'll give us injury updates when we're here, and it's like, this player is now this player is now questionable. This player is now doubtful. This player is now out. And it was seemingly somebody new every time. And for somebody in a lost season to do that, that's impressive, and that's what you want to build your program around. And he did have a couple nice tackles in space today. So he's one that we had talked about previously this week as somebody to watch.
Yep. The Wisconsin student section, we should mention them very quickly. I had stuff before the game where it was 7 minutes before the game, and the student section was maybe 10% full, and it was like, oh Lord, what is this day going to be? And then they showed up, and it was 2/3 full, maybe. But they did the Oklahoma State thing where one guy went over to an empty section and took off his shirt and twirled it around his head. And then you looked up 2 minutes later, and there were like 3 or 4 dozen people up there doing it. And then you looked up 2 minutes later, and the whole section was full. And it was like in a completely lost season, in a really hopeless game. Man, I love stupid college football stuff. Like, it was just such a great, stupid college football moment. And it wasn't the first time.
No.
But it was like, embrace. This is a gorgeous day. It was a wonderful college football Saturday. This is a tremendous setting. Yeah. This is a school that really loves its football. That was so great.
This might be the last day you get to do it here as well, because it's going to get chilly. But yeah, and it's not going to be the last time we see that this year. And I think that's just going to become a thing moving forward, where, because I took a photo in the section like next to it. There was just one lady up there like reading. And anytime you get the one person reading, so I like zoomed in, but then the section over. And then that same section, before they do the jump around, they do a section race on the screen where you get different sections are racing up on this animated screen. And so the section N and O was the shirtless section. And so they're very much rooting for their N, their O. I did not win the race, so they were not happy with that. Tough day for that student section over there. But yeah, that is trying to explain college football to somebody coming from overseas. Like, tell me about it. It's like, well, there's just, I don't know where to begin. Here, watch this.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the band House of Pain? Yes, they're from like 35 years ago. Why? Well, there's going to be a game, and and the student section stuck around for that.
Yep.
And it was, my wife went to Ohio University in the mid 90s when Ohio University was end the season a lot of years. And she said after the student section, the students would go, they'd cheer for the football team for the first half. They'd watch the Marching 110 perform at halftime, and then everyone would go to Court Street to go, get a sandwich or something, I assume. But that was kind of this for Wisconsin. It was, I thought, oh boy, is this going to be like the saddest jump around? Because we were here a couple of years ago, and even then, it wasn't a great season. But it was, this place is going.
Yeah.
It's a really fun tradition. And I thought, oh boy, is this going to be a really sad jump around? And you can check my Twitter. I put a video on there just kind of like going in a circle around the stadium. And it's like, nope, everybody's here. Everyone is having fun. It's just, it was a great college football day, even though the game itself was kind of over in about 6 minutes.
The press box was still shaking, as it does with jump around. The get-in price right around kickoff was $18, $19. So hopefully some of y'all were able to take advantage of that. And Tom, you were here. Like, what percentage would you say were Ohio State fans looking at the crowd?
Yeah.
Were you able to tell?
Yeah, it was a lot of red in the stadium, certainly. How much was Scarlet and how much was Cardinal? Well, I wouldn't want to speculate. There were some loud roars on Ohio State touchdowns. That's how you kind of could tell. And, I wasn't out here for the end of the game. I was running around trying to figure out the post-game stuff. But, most of the crowd that was here at the end of the game, there was a lot of scarlet and gray here.
We were in the post game at that point, and waiting for the game to end because we weren't allowed on the field. And so on that fourth down play, and we're watching the TV monitor, but it's about 30 seconds behind. And then so it's fourth down. The crowd cheers, and we're all looking around like, is that a Wisconsin cheer or an Ohio State cheer? And then we saw the play, and it was an Ohio State cheer. It's like, well, that answers that question.
Yeah. Deb wants to know, this is something that I'm going to have to defer 100% to you.
All right.
This may have been discussed, but why did they count the Wisconsin catch between the knees? It was a fumble that he then had between his knees, and then one of the defense actually recovered it.
No, he never had it until it was between his knees, and then he gathered it. That's how I saw it, because it went from his hands to his knees, and then he's rolling, and the ball is between his knees. He had tremendous knee control, which is something that you always teach your receivers.
Yeah.
Hands, knee control, strong knees. They work on that constantly. Lunges help those, and drink a lot of milk. But from what I saw on the replay, and again, this is a bang bang type of thing. To me, it looked like it went through his hands, into his body, into his knees, and then back into his hands. Okay. And he's rolling around the entire time.
Yeah, I did not have a good view at all of that. Anything else we need to get to on here before we wrap things up? Looks like nothing in the queue.
I will say, Harvell Reese, again, like watching him be spying or just like, I'm tired of this crap. I'm just going to get the quarterback. It's like, enough of this messing around. And then he just swallows up the quarterback. And Caden Curry got him. Kenyatta Jackson got him. And this defense is tremendous to watch. Lorenzo Styles, I guess, could have played in an emergency if they needed him.
Yeah.
But they stuck with what worked last week. Didn't really see much attacking of the outside corners. Well, didn't really see much of anything from the passing game.
Yeah.
So really another just solid performance from the Ohio State defense, holding Wisconsin to 144 yards of total offense, which is almost always going to be a winning number.
Well, 145 yards of total offense, but 50 of those came on their last drive when the backups were in. We do have a super chat from TK for stressing the importance of lunges for strong knees. There you go, Tony.
And milk.
You should see Tony's. Are you familiar with the Jane Fonda workout tapes from the 80s? Tony actually has his own version of those.
The Henry Fonda workout. It's much easier. It's a very low contact. And it's basically just eating Werthers and yelling at the kids on the lawn.
It's just you and 12 angry men. It is.
Out there on Golden Pond. All right, let's drop some more old movies. No? Okay.
No.
All right.
No. All right. So are we good?
Have we defeated everybody?
Yeah, I think we've kind of
okay. We do need to get on out. They have some strict time rules here. The press box closed 1 hour after the game. Everybody else is trying to get kicked out like 2 hours after the press conferences. So we are right about at that number. So we do want to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for dealing with all of the technological difficulties that we have at times, or that I have at times. That's on me. But if you have not yet done so, hit the thumbs up. We would appreciate that. And of course, continue to hit the bell to be notified. Subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so. If you're listening via your audio podcast platform of choice, a 5-star rating and review is always appreciated. And you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up for a membership. Say hello to us there. It's a bye week. I'm going to watch some football this week. You are not.
I have a youth hockey tournament to go to. Surprisingly, so, I may sneak in some college football while I'm there. We'll see.
On the phones, certainly. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.